when we put that video together, I really had no idea what perseverance really was. I mean, I had persevered through my career and through my show, but I had such a lesson of perseverance about to come my way that I really had no clue what it truly meant. And just after we put that video together, we were ready to start touring with Magical Dreams for the very first time. And I was so excited about the tour. We had a wonderful crew, and we had bookings that lasted about 6 months. And as I went out to rehearsals and started working on this show, I started to get this gut feeling that it wasn't meant to be. And it kind of baffled me why God would inspire me for 3 years of building this project and building all this equipment that he would now tell me that it wasn't meant to be. So I kind of fought it. And in fact, I went on with rehearsals, but the feeling got even stronger. And the more I fought it, the more ill I became. I physically became ill, where I could not fight it any longer. I finally had to give in and face the fact that Magical Dreams was not meant to tour. Now, that was a very difficult time in my life, and in fact, I had all this time off of my job as a paramedic. And I thought, you know, I'll go home and visit my family and try to regroup and try to figure out where exactly my life is to lead from here. And when I went home, I got home and I saw my grandfather, the greatest man in the world to me. And what I realized when I went home is my grandfather, who had been fighting cancer for several years and had been in remission, was no longer in remission. The cancer had found its way around every medicine, every remedy the doctors had to offer. And the realization when I went home was that my grandfather was going to die. You know, a long story short, because of that gut feeling, because of the belief that that feeling inside of me was much more than just nervousness for a show, I was there the last days, the last hours, the last minutes, as the greatest man I ever knew took his last breath. As I looked at my watch, right after I told him that last goodbye, I realized that my tour was going to have me hundreds of miles away. And I knew in my own selfish pride that once that tour got going and got momentum, there's no way that I would have left shows not knowing the moment he would pass. Recovering from this was a long year. And in fact, it was a year of kind of regrouping, but it was also a year of feeling like Magical Dreams was still meant to be. So a year later, I got all this equipment back together, and I got a crew back together, and we got bookings again, and we're all excited about it, and I get in the last 24 hours of rehearsals. We're getting ready to leave the next day on tour, and I decide to go home and check my email of all things. And when I was home, a freak fire broke out in my house. A paint can in a closet had fallen off, and I know a firefighter should know better than to put paint in a closet with a water heater, but I did. A paint can fell off a shelf, starting a fire when it ignited by the pilot light from the water heater. Within minutes, everything I owned was engulfed in flames. At that point, once again, I was lost. I thought, what in the world am I supposed to do with this? And in fact, when I was standing there as the last fire engines were leaving, people came up to me and they said, what are you going to do? Certainly you're not going to tour. And I had no idea what I was going to do. But what I did is I went back into the house, and what used to be my house, and I went room by room by room and looked at all the charred damage. And I went into the office, which was the most damaged room in the entire house, nothing recognizable. And there was a lump of plastic on the floor that used to be my computer. And sitting there, what used to be my desk, was just one thing just kind of sticking up in the soot that didn't fit the rest of the room. It was just kind of out of place. I went over and it was a frame, and it was all charred, and I chipped away the glass from this frame. And there, in that room, the only recognizable piece of anything left in my office was this paper. A paper that says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. That's from Proverbs 3 through 5. You know, I believe God talks to us today just as he did back in biblical times. We just have to open our hearts, we have to listen, and we have to look. This was the sign that I needed at that point in my life. And because of that sign that God put there, I went on tour 24 hours later. We had to go to Kmart to buy me a costume to wear. But we did it. And because of this sign, because of this message, we went out and performed for nearly 68,000 students across the region. I hope God can give you those signs. He can speak to you, and more importantly, I hope you can hear him. Now, when we go out and tour to schools, obviously I can't talk about God, but there is a message that we take into the schools, and I think it's just as important that I share it here with you tonight, because a lot of those students ask me what I do when I'm not performing illusions, and the truth is, this is not my full-time job. I'm a full-time paramedic. And one of the things that I see as a paramedic is people, especially young people, ruining their lives through the use and the abuse of drugs and alcohol. Now, I think for many people, this starts with the first puff of a cigarette. Now, I am not saying that smoking is right or wrong. I'm not here to judge. I know many people that smoke. But I will tell you that a big number of the calls that I respond to on that ambulance is to help people who are having difficulty breathing. And it just happens, almost every one of those people that is fighting for that one last breath of air is a smoker. And if they're not a smoker now, most likely they were before. And they quit because they saw what the cigarette was doing to their body. But you know, that's the thing about cigarettes. You never realize the damage that a cigarette is doing until it's too late. The damage is already done. For many people, it doesn't even stop there. In fact, for young people, so many times it leads into the use and sometimes even the abuse of alcohol. As so many people don't even look at alcohol as a drug. But I gotta tell you, I see that people can get addicted to alcohol just like anything else, because it has that power of addiction that can overpower you before you know it. And it really saddens me to see people who are literally wasting their lives on alcohol. But you know, alcohol isn't only a killer by addiction. One of the saddest things that I see on that ambulance is people die. And it really hurts me to see people die. But there's nothing more sad than to see an innocent person, sometimes an innocent child, die because someone else drank alcohol and then got behind the wheel of a car. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you make the decision in your life to drink alcohol, please do not drive. That is one of the most devastating killers in this country. But you know, for many, it doesn't even stop there. What starts with that first puff of a cigarette or drink of alcohol can very quickly, very easily lead to something more dangerous, more deadly. And the truth is, it doesn't matter what it's called or how you take it. A drug is a drug. And before you know it, all drugs start to take total control. They control your thoughts. They control your feelings. They control your actions. They take away your self-esteem. They take away your self-worth. They take away your will to live. They make you lonely. They make you sick. They make you sad. They make you stupid. They bring out the worst in you. They bring out feelings of depression. They bring out thoughts of suicide. They destroy your potential. They destroy your reputation. They destroy your mind. They destroy your dreams. They destroy your goals. They destroy your future. They destroy your family. They destroy your life. Before you know it, everything that makes you who you are has vanished altogether. The truth is, you don't need cigarettes, you don't need alcohol, and you don't need drugs to be cool. We live in a world where things are not always as they appear.